Okay, we're going to talk about gridding. I'm not going to explain enlarging or transferring of the image. I'm just going to explain at this point this little framework of X's and plus signs. And we'll go over that. I just have a little mini example, but we'll go over it more. In order to grid, you will need a ruler and a pencil and eraser. You will go ahead and figure out the grid work that you want to work with. I'm going to work with 1-inch squares. You can work in metrics, doesn't matter, but you will find out the bite-sized pieces that you think will work best. Make sure that they're an easy one to find, like 1 inch, ½ inch, 1 centimeter. I would not be using 3/4 inch, stuff like that. Just keep it nice and round and a bite-sized piece that you feel like you can deal with. Then I have decided to do a direct copy. I'm not doing an enlargement or a distortion. And so let's begin. So I drew, or I cropped this part off, and I've drawn a 1-inch grid work. So I have 4 across and 5 down, and I've labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, and A to E. And then on my grid over here, I've copied and made it exactly the same thing. It's 1-inch squares. I got 4 by 5, and I've labeled them to correspond to my reference photo. So what you'll do is, for square 1A, oh look, it's already done for me. That's quick. And I'll look then on down. I've got square 2B, no, 1B, excuse me. And this one doesn't require much work. All I have to do is draw in that little corner. So I'm going to kind of go, actually I'll go this way. And I'm going to look along the line and say, how far up do I think that corner rests? And obviously if half is right here and 1/4 is right there, I'm going to guess it's, kind of, so if that's half and that's 1/4, it's kind of in there. And you just have to learn how to eyeball it. Okay, now you can go ahead and eyeball just using the square like I did with B, but it gets harder and harder the more detail you encounter, as I think you can probably tell. So let's look at C. Let's see if I just can use this as a framework. It may not be enough. So I go ahead and say, all right, the sleeve kind of continues. So I'll kind of go and let it continue. It kind of makes a saddleback here and has a bump. And then I start saying to myself, possibly, I'm losing my place. I'm just not able to see it as well. And maybe it's just not enough framework for my eye to pick up, and I'm starting to not, it doesn't look quite right. So at which point, actually I'm going to go ahead and erase. You can start making a more complex framework. And the way I like to do it, and the way I was taught actually back in 9th grade, was to take your square and draw an X through it. And I've done that on the reference photo, and I'm going to do it onto the copy. And see if the X actually helps me. And the X does indeed help me. So I can see, actually, I'm going to do a thing, I'm going to use shape as my guide. Do you see how if I were just to draw this little triangle here at the very top, can you see how it looks a little bit like a little mountain? It's got the snow cap on top. If this triangle is all that exists, I've got this little snow cap. I can go ahead and just draw that little snow cap. There's my little mountain. So I have a bump right there. And I can actually go ahead and see the relation between this point and this point. And I'm going to just kind of retrace it and see if that will help me train a little muscle memory, kind of go back over the line, go, okay, I think I got it. And if I don't think I've got it, erase and try again, right? Or I can actually say, you know what, that's better, but I still need more information. So at which point I would go through and I would say, again, it's not, sorry I keep bumping the camera thing. I'm going to make a plus sign. So I go ahead, make a plus sign over my X. And if you do it onto the reference photo, do it onto the copy. Whatever you draft over here, draft it over here. Okay. Okay, now I have even more framework. I can say, okay, I see that the sleeve exits about halfway through this is that arcing line right there. That comes out and through. Right about there. And it slices out. Where does it? Looking for that. You might find also that it's helpful to put your finger where you're looking, kind of like a book. You're reading a book and then writing on your paper. Sometimes I find it helps to hold my thumb kind of where it is I'm looking and then drawing, and I don't know, you can use them that way. Now this, I don't know, let's say it's not enough. I'm still stuck. Well, go ahead, draw an X in the place where you're stuck. Okay, I'm stuck. I'll draw an X. And I'll see, okay, now I have more framework to work with. Okay. Does it looks kind of like, yeah, okay. I'm just double checking. I'm like, yeah, that's right. But there, see that little sliver of a triangle right there? I can draw that little sliver of a triangle right there and keep going. And that line almost crosses through this vertex. So my line goes straight through that vertex. And it comes out the other side. And then this one, let's see, is that halfway through? Let me find out. I'm going to, since I have an X there, I'm going to go ahead and draw a plus sign. Yes, look, it's a little bit off. Draw my X over here. Or my plus sign, I'm sorry. I'm drawing, not talking, right? Okay, so I'll start a little bit above and draw it down in to where they finally kind of meet. And that is how you do it. So the neat thing is you can use your ruler, but just to show you, you can actually magnify an area tighter and tighter and tighter, put more and more and more framework on it by just taking the quadrant, turning it, put an X in it, see if that's enough. If it's not, put a plus sign through it, put a plus sign through it, and see if that's enough and start using those bits, okay? The other thing I want to point out is negative space. So you want to not just view the thing you're drawing. You want to try to view the thing you're not drawing. Let me show you. I showed this bit in class, and I think it's helpful. Do you see, not the head, but the blank spot? This blank spot looks a little bit, I noticed today, like a skinny foot. Like you've got this, let's say, Jolly Green Giant kind of a thing. It's like this long, skinny foot. Do you see that shape right there? I can draw that shape, and that's what's called the negative space. I can draw the negative space, and if I get the negative space right, the head has been drawn. It's already there. Let's try to find another negative space. Okay, how about right here, that collar? So I'm not going to draw any of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, I don't know, is that the top of Minnesota? This right here, this shape is what I'm going to draw. I'm going to focus on, I'll shade it in. How about that? I'll make lines through it. That space is what I'm going to draw. And oftentimes we talked about logic versus visual. This tricks my mind into drawing actually what I see and not what I know. I might accidentally make the wrong decision because I'm drawing a collar. I've done one thing right, which is I've turned my paper sideways so I don't sit there and have that logic say, ooh, collar, I know what a collar looks like, and I draw it, and then it looks wrong. So you can turn your paper sideways or even, my goodness, upside down, and then draw this shape rather than anything else. So drawing the top of Minnesota. Okay, so that's a negative space shape. So you would draw that shape, not the collar. So that's one trick you can do that's oftentimes very, very helpful. Okay, so that's gridding. I hope that that helps, and try to use those little negative spaces and try to amplify the framework, and that tends to help. You can enlarge, so you can actually take a reference photo and then take that grid and put it even on a wall. I mean, this is really fun to work with. So I hope you give it a go. All right, take care. Bye.